time to strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Braino Mattrix and Whisperer.
G'day guys, welcome back to the Insight NRL Show. It is, I was going to say Sunday, it's Monday, and we're here to wrap up the round 14 for NRL Supercoach. I'm the Supercoach Brain, and joining me as always is the Supercoach Mattrix. Matty, how's your long weekend, but unfortunately in Queensland, mate, you didn't have a public holiday like we did today.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed your day off. Had a couple days at the coast. Still having nightmares about the sharks that I saw at the aquarium. Katoni Staggs is having the same problem. Just enjoying my time here, having a beer on a Monday, which is usually my dry night. So there you go. There is a silver lining.
The one dry night of the week for Mattrix, and he's been forced into drinking, the poor bloke. Can you, everybody pour their hearts out in the comments for him? Because I'm sure it's upsetting him. Mate, I mean, I'd rather be where you are because I've been moving house the last few days. And I tell you what, for anybody out there who is thinking about moving or, buying a new house or whatever it is, first of all, hit Ryan up from Astute Newstead, long-term support of the show, but also do not do a simultaneous settlement, ladies and gentlemen, because that could honestly be the worst thing I've ever done in my life. Moving out of a house on the same day that I'm moving into a new house and having to basically get everything that you've got in one house to the next house. We filled up a full 50-foot truck, and we didn't fuck around. So yeah, that's been fun. That's been my weekend. So I haven't watched as much footy as you have, probably, Matty.
Yeah, look, I did get to watch a fair bit of footy. I went to the coast, obviously, with my mates who are super into it as well. So yeah, we sat there and watched it. Listened to Sunday's games on the radio because I was driving. And the footy was on while I was at work today, so that was lovely.
Nice. I also received a lovely photo from you having a beer at your desk at fucking 4 p.m. So just living the dream.
Yeah, look, it had to be done. It was a public holiday other places, so why should I miss out?
100%, exactly right. Sunday, 4 p.m. somewhere, surely, at some point today. Guys, we're live, of course, as we always are, to bring you the wrap-up. Let us know how you went in the comments. There's some big scores. I'm looking at the comments at the moment. We've got a couple of low ones, but we've got some big ones as well. Brent, specifically, with a 1334. I know that I just mentioned Ryan from Astute Newstead, sponsor of the show, but also avid Supercoacher. He scored 1,352 this week. And I haven't seen anything higher than that this week yet. Ian Johnson with a 1265 in a pretty good spot at 1200th. So we've got some good ones coming in. 1140 for Reese as well. Mate, how did things end up for you? 984 on the screen there. Bit of a tricky week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a tricky week, and it was probably just not having Lomax and Latrell just sort of staying away from some of those Origin stars. Ended up getting Cody Walker in this week, which was my only 100. But yeah, just sort of there were some cheap guys that went and got 120, even like your Wisharts and your Tritons and Crichtons. And I just missed all those guys. So look, I'm not disappointed. I think I'm in really good steads for the bye rounds. Just sort of got my captain wrong. Probably should have looped today. Sort of got ruined. I wasn't really thinking Supercoach with a day at work. I probably should have. I had a free loop. I probably shouldn't have looped for feeder, but it didn't cost me too much. It might have just cost me 30 or 40 points. So.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's one of those weeks where, you're right. You hit the nail on the head. If you didn't own Latrell, you didn't own Lomax, and you definitely, obviously, wouldn't have captained them if you didn't own them. I think, that's the differential, I think, this week. And Matty, Ian Johnson wants to know, are you trying to sell a Triton or a Crichton? Tell us what you do for work without telling us what you do for work. But yeah, I ended up on 1083. The only 100 I had was Tamari Martin, funnily enough, the guy that I was trying to sell at all costs about a month ago, until he's come good. And now his last 3 games, he's just torn it up. He's going to make 150K this week. So he'll be like 660K, which is just insane considering he's got 93, 115, and now this week 111. So happy days with him. But yeah, I got my captain wrong with Carraz. Somehow he still scored 65. I don't know how, because I watched the majority of this game and his points just came from fucking absolutely nowhere. And I know you did the same, right?
Yeah. I heard he has nudes of Tom Sangster's sister, and that's how he ended up getting 65 today. So yeah shout
good.
out to Jacob.
And also how good when your third highest scorer of the week costs 393k. That's when you know that things just aren't really going the way that they should go, with Liam Henry with his 82 outscoring David Fifita, who I bought this week and had to use 2 downgrades this week and a boost, my final boost, to get David Fifita in for an 82. And it should have been Latrell. But anyway, there's reasons for that. But
how about this? I boosted in Cody for his 100. Great. Boosted in David Fifita and traded in Carraz because I thought that he would be the best captain option this week.
We had a conversation on the phone earlier about the fact that we probably both should have looped David Fifita, really. Like in the grand scheme of things, my AE would have been 33 from salmon. 32 from hands is my AE. Yeah. So anyway, hindsight heroes at work here. But guys, we'll head into preview the games or look at the games that have gone through the weekend. But of course, before that, if you can, hit subscribe, hit like, hit follow if you're listening to us on audio. Leave us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that. Guys, of course, we mentioned the Standard Squeeze is one of the sponsors of the show, and you can obviously get involved or buy yourself some Standard Squeeze products on their website, thestandardsqueeze.com. Use the code IFS15 to get yourself 15% off everything in store. Because, I don't know about you, Matty, but I'm sick of my beers going warm. I don't know whether you've ever had a warm beer in your life, to be fair, though, because they go down pretty quickly.
Yeah, they do. Look, I like to get in before they get warm. It's just something I do.
Yes. Well, look, it's a good tactic because cold beer is much better. But, you've got your combo pack right there as well, where it gives you the perfect pour every single time. A little 30ml chamber there in the top. Nice little swig from that as well. Didn't even need a Hamo donation for that swig. Maybe we'll get one a little bit later for a skull.
We did just get a Hamo donation, so...
Did we? Oh, well, there you go. All right, we'll throw it up. And Ronnie is my favourite player. Thanks to Hamo for the donation, of course. He does much more than that for us, of course. But, 1352 is definitely not par. It's above par. I think it's the colour of what we see on the screen here. You're going to see plenty of green, Mr. Ryan Hammond. So congratulations on your week. Very, very big. Now, let's chat games, mate, because I don't really want to talk about the first one. And you know the best part? I watched the first half of this game and turned it off. And that's probably where I'd like to leave it, to be honest. So I might leave this game with you.
Yeah, well, I fell asleep during this one. So, it was great if you're a Lomax owner. It was good to see some of the Dragons back up. I suppose when the NRL did this, they didn't expect this many Dragons to get picked in Origin. So... yeah, shout out to the Dragons they've had they had a really good win last week against the Panthers and did really back it up. Like, you do pencil this in for a win, but you don't always pencil in a 50-point win. It was an absolute trouncing and the boys were fired up. I have to give the Dragons their due considering I'm so hard on them usually. But yeah, Lomax 170 was obviously the highlight, and he was in everything. He was pumped, but might find himself in a little bit of hot water being on report. So
yeah, is there any chance that he's going to miss some time? I missed it, but I've heard everyone talking on X about how bad it was and what's going on. He took someone out in the air. Alamalo ended up HIA and out for the game after that hit.
It looked pretty bad. Didn't look like a lot of intent in it, but it looked pretty bad. He might even miss Origin 2. I don't know if they'll let somebody who comes back to play the Tigers 2 days after Origin without that much intent really miss Origin 2. But you know what? 5 weeks ago, I would have seen him miss 2 or 3 weeks. So, yeah.
Hard to pick, isn't it, really? Yeah, I don't know week to week what they're going to do with these judiciary outcomes, but anyway, we'll just play it as it lies, and see how we're looking next week. But yeah, the big win for the Dragons. Shout out to Damien Carroll in the chat. Usually disappears as soon as the Dragons game's over and we stop talking about the Dragons. So, but no, he can have a brag this week. They absolutely pants the Tigers. And look, I mean, I was going into the halftime break thinking, fuck, we could be a chance here. I'm just going to turn it off because I was wrecked. And this is the day that we moved, and I spent 14 hours moving, like packing boxes and putting them in a truck and shit, and I was just over it. So I went to bed, and I'm glad. I'm glad I did, because from what I saw in the afternoon and from what Benji Marshall's press conference sounded like, it sounded pretty grim, to a point where Benji's come out and basically said, if the actions of the players don't change, the players will change. And you know what? I kind of like it. I like the fact that he's now putting some pressure on these guys. I don't give a fuck who you are. You know, if you continue to put up these efforts, you're not going to be in the team. I think Jaden Sullivan's got as well, which is even trouble for us.
Yeah, if I got beaten by this much, I'd probably request a trade.
Is that a Galvin swipe?
Yes.
Okay. Can we talk? Would you want to talk about that? What are your thoughts on that? Because I mean, Isaac Moses has been very well known as a player agent to get his players out of deals, and look, he gets a great job done for his players, which is exactly why they go to him. But yeah, I mean, is this just Isaac Moses at his best now, getting a young guy that's played 10 games of first grade out of a contract?
No, I don't think so. From reports, it was in the sheds. It was, and I know we're a Supercoach podcast, so we should probably stay in our lane a little bit. But apparently, it was emotional. It was in the sheds, like basically, like get me the fuck out of here. Which, like, he might have been getting pressure from his agent, but going in on a Monday morning, wearing a tie and requesting a trade sounds a little bit more like Isaac Moses than emotional, in the sheds, got pumped by 40, injured. Maybe he was asked to play injured due to the depth of the halves and not really having anybody, which if I'm injured and they're asking me to push through it, yeah, look, I start to lose a little bit of faith as well.
For sure. I don't think it's the right thing for us to do, to be playing an 18-year-old with a fractured hand. So I completely understand that. That's tough. Look, in saying that, we've got to remember this kid's 18 years old, and Benji's given him his first start in first grade. And I'm not sure what he expected from the Tigers this year, but I sure didn't expect the Tigers to come out and be a top 8 team. So, I mean, I think maybe that's the frustration from a Tigers perspective, is we've got this young kid coming out going, yeah, I'm not winning. I want to leave, and I want to go to the Panthers, or I want to go to the Roosters.
I know some people that played beside Benji, and when they were younger, obviously Benji being a little bit older than me, now being a coach, but I know some people that have played beside Benji and sort of said Benji always just lifted up these guys, which I really thought that Galvin would have bought into Benji and brought into the fact that they're bringing in some other guys. I know he plays the same position as Luai, but yeah, this was unexpected.
Yeah. Look, I mean, we don't want to dive into this too much because you're right. Like you said at the start, we are a Supercoach podcast, but there's a bit going on in the background for the Tigers, and it does look bad. I mean, NRL 360, we're throwing daggers at the Tigers as they do every week, and but we're in turmoil at the moment, and there's a bit going on. But let's just hope that they stick strong and Benji comes good, and a bit of the heat comes off him at least. But from a Supercoach standpoint, mate, Lomax and Ben Hunt, obviously the standouts here. From a Dragons perspective, Kyle Flanagan again scored well, 75. Jack de Belin, though, look, the downside is when you have a prop or a lock or wherever position, a middle forward, I guess we could say, that is in a team that scores 56 points, you're doing a lot of standing around doing nothing, aren't you? So you're not getting that output, that base from a guy like Jack de Belin that you normally would.
Yeah, that's true. And it's hard for me to get super excited about your Surleys, your Fee guys, your Flanos, when you put on 56 points. Like, the guys you get excited about are the guys that are scoring 170 when you score 56, because they're scoring 80s when you score 30. Yeah, I'm not reading too much into the hype these, because, again, you don't play the Tigers every week, and that's not a dagger. It's just the reality of it. But you know what? 56-14 and seeing Api Coruscant with 75 points even your Sullys and your Bullers with 60 points is even Finu with 49. I know that these guys were doing a lot of work. You said in the middle, like your 12s, I think Seyfarth even played through the middle a little bit through this game. That sort of, if you can get pumped by 40 and put up these sort of numbers, I'm a big fan of your game for Supercoach.
I won't be touching Seyfarth with a 10-foot pole. I can give you the red hot tip. 88. No, I'm not going near that. 350k, 6 break even. He'll be up to probably 420 now. But yeah, no, I'm still not interested in Seyfarth. There's way too many errors in his game for me. But I guess the good thing is the job security seems to be there for him, because who else do the fucking Tigers have to play? They've got 11 of their top 30 squad out injured at the moment. Adam Dewey's returning in New South Wales Cup this week, so I'm very interested to see what happens with him when he starts to kind of ramp up into NRL contention again. But otherwise, mate, there is no one I'm touching from the Tigers at the moment, aside from probably 3 guys, Coruscant, Samuel Afinu, and I mean, obviously Lockie Galvin, everybody owns him, so I won't count him. Lob's interesting, but just isn't scoring enough. So he's a watch. We can just let him through. Justin Matamua just isn't getting the minutes. They're the 4 guys I think there's some relevance around. Anyone else I'm probably not touching, mate. So we can move on to the next game. And it's funny, the first 3 games of this round, teams all conceded 40 points. So Tigers are out of contention for the competition, but the Rabbitohs put 46 on the Titans. And Latrell Mitchell, talk of the town, isn't he? He won the Mitchell versus Fafita little Supercoach trade in battle this week.
Yeah, and look, I would have 100% traded in Latrell Mitchell if I didn't think he was going to play centre for New South Wales. So then I went and delved a little bit deeper and landed on Cody Walker as well, which I was happy with his 103 at 540k. Cody Walker's just a guy that I pick up when he bottoms out. He's lost 160k this year, so I was happy with that. But again, was it 2 tries for 103? That's only really banging out a 60, realistically.
Cody Walker needs to do a lot for his points, though, doesn't he? That happens every year. Like we go, oh, Cody Walker's cheap. There's a reason he's cheap, because when he doesn't score tries and have try assists and the Rabbitohs go on a shit run, that they do pretty much every year, he ends up sub 500k and you're going, cool, it's time to trade in Cody Walker. He's about to go on a run. Same with Alex Johnston. He's due. This
is the lowest he's been in 3 years, though. So Cody Walker, consistently averages 60. So I think 60 to 70 is sort of, if the Rabbitohs are humming, he'll score you 60, 70, because he does have those attacking stats in him, especially without, there's not too much happening in the halves here.
There is not. Updates are in, apparently, thanks to shots in the comments. I've gone up to 11:05, so can't complain. But I think that's a Kalmatua-Lungi little bump there, which is nice. But so updates are in. Check your scores, everyone. I'm sure that things have gone up just a tad. But Latrell Mitchell 150, Cody Walker 103. Great options. I think that now the conversation is going to be next week with Galvin being out next week. There's a chance everyone's going to be looking at doing Galvin to Cody Walker. And look, I'm not going to talk people out of that necessarily. I just think we need to also remember how many trades we have left. Because if you're like me and you've got 17, I think I'd be trying to hold guys like Galvin, especially with the good buy schedule coming up for the rest of the Origin period. As tempting as it is to get guys like Cody Walker and at that price, we do need to make sure that we have trades left for the run home. So, Cody Walker, great buy. But just I think for anybody who does have an underperforming 5'8", I'd probably be looking at making that change. Davey Moali, 81. What's happening here? He scored a try, obviously, in this game. So inflated due to that. Jack Whiten, 81. Richie Kenner, 80. Tommy Burgess, 77. I mean, maybe the one standing out for me was Damien Cook at the start of this week, because he's actually gone on a decent run of scores. Matty, what are your thoughts on him? It's kind of him versus Appy maybe for the bye period?
Yeah, and I don't think I'm touching him with Mamazula sniffing around as well, taking a few minutes. I would love 80-minute Cook, but I suppose 580 is the price you'd get him on. But you're basically just paying for a guy that gets a few less minutes than Appy, that has the same upside as Appy, in a team as bad as Appy's. I know they won this game, but just remember the Rabbitohs were 17th this week. I I'm not too excited about Damien Cook. But the options were, I suppose, Latrell, Cody Walker, Damien Cook, those guys in the spine. And I don't think Damien Cook and Cody Walker's getting picked in Origin. But yeah, just Mamazoulis there put me off Damien Cook.
Yeah, whenever you got a bench hooker. Speaking of bench hookers, in the last game of today, I know there was a bit of frustration flying around with one of the more popular trades of this week that we'll talk about soon. But I agree. Jacob Gagai with a 63 with a try. It just seems like there's a lot of Alex Johnston about this guy, just no base, and relies very heavily on attacking stats and could be an AE problem down the track. But the good thing is, with a 70 break even, he likely holds his cash at 307. So if you've held him all this way, I would say there's a good chance he's going to have a low break even again next week. So you can probably look at maybe reigniting that cash gen for the next fortnight or so. Otherwise, not really much else going on here for the Rabbitohs. Titans for feeder 81. Jaden Campbell, 75, came into the team at the last minute there. Ended up playing at 5'8", with Kayokini staying at fullback there. How do you think this all plays out? Because I know Tanner Boyd was in the reserves, Matty, on the weekend, but ended up being omitted at the last minute there at the 1 hour cut. What are your thoughts on how this all plays out? Do you think Keeney stays at fullback, or do you think Campbell goes back to fullback when Tanner Boyd's fit?
I think Campbell will go back to fullback. I think they need Tanner Boyd as that genuine sort of half, which allows Foran to have a little bit more of a running game, to get a bit more involved that way. I don't think Foran's the best organizer. Like when he played with Daly Cherry Evans and everyone like that, Daly was the organizer, and Campbell is good at fullback. It's really when Brimson comes back, which is the big question for me, because I see Campbell playing at fullback. I hate Brimson in the centers. Like, he is so good for you. If you are the Titans, and he's played so well at fullback, and even 5'8" when asked, it's just then the question comes in, because if you're playing your best players, then you're probably playing Campbell, AJ, and Foran, but I think you need Tanner Boyd in there somewhere.
Ian Johnson in the chat, when is Brimson back? So he was out for 6 to 8 weeks back on the 15th of May. So he's missed from that, what's looking to be his 4th game this week. So he could be anywhere between a fortnight to 4 weeks away, depending on how his injury is tracking. We haven't really seen too much from the Gold Coast Titans on that, but I would like to think that there's at least a minimum 2 to 3 weeks for Brimo to be away. So I would say Jaden Campbell stays in the 6 jersey at least, and until Foran's back maybe. I'm not quite sure how that plays out, but he's an interesting one.
Do you know what this tells you? If your name's not David Fafita, you shouldn't be on a Supercoach team.
I don't know, man. The Titans are fucking tempting when it comes to looking at their draw. Like, when you look at their schedule, though, like through that bye period, they got through their bye. They play South, and they play the Tigers coming up this week, into the Warriors. They've got the round 17 bye, so as long as you don't have too many Titans, Souths, or Manly players in your squad, you should be able to handle that okay. And then they've got 18, 19, 20 back-to-back against the Sharks, Parramatta, and Manly, who are all known and susceptible to conceding points, Supercoach points. So I know, though, we're talking relevance in terms of players. So I get you
just got pumped by the Rabbitohs, who were 17th.
Yeah. Oh, but they also still score Supercoach points as well. Like, Jaden Campbell scored 75 in a fucking flogging. Like, so there's relevance there for these guys because they just have such an attacking play style. But yeah, I'd probably want to see a little bit more first, or at least a little bit more Supercoach relevance. Let's move on to the next one, mate. Warriors, again, the Cowboys have conceded 40 in this one, so that's 3 games of 40 straight. Warriors 42, Cowboys 12. Big one, Tamari Martin. Just with the number 7 on his back. This guy is a fucking automatic pick with the 7. It's just going to be very interesting to watch what happens when SJ comes back, and there's every chance, I think, that he just regresses back into that kind of maybe minimalistic role, I guess, that he did have with the 6 on his back.
Yeah, and you know what? SJ's an automatic pick when he's playing halfback too, to be honest. So it's just Warriors halfbacks, I think. And look, Tamari Martin definitely is higher in the pecking order than Chanel Harris-Tavita. Tamari Martin's a good pick, and I think they're going to have some decisions when somebody like Luke Metcalf is fit. But look, we know Tamari Martin can do this. He's bounced around a little bit. He's a guy that's retired basically at one stage, and he's back.
I'm glad he's back. He's been great for my Supercoach team. As much as I wanted to trade him out, his last 3 weeks have been fantastic, and he's making big money. And we'll probably also have very close to a negative break even next week. I haven't checked Jay Schuster's post on the Warriors game, but I'll go back and have a look soon. Some other big ones here. We'll answer your question very soon, Ian, because it's a relevant one. Addin Fanua-Blake with a 103 with a try. That was probably the easiest anytime try scorer bet I'll make all year, with how many tries the Cowboys concede to middle forwards. So that was a lock. 103. Chance Nickel-Kluxtar 101 as well. He was fantastic. And obviously Mitchy Barnett and Rocco Berry plus 80 there as well. And I know on the podcast on Tuesday, mate, you floated the idea of getting Mitchy Barnett in, and you ended up not pulling the trigger.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I had too many other fires to put out, I suppose. And I'll probably regret it all year, because that was probably the best price I was going to get Barnett at. But anyway, you live and you learn. I've went with the philosophy to save trades in front row forward all year. And Sam Hughes played this week. No, to get 16, which ended up 17 with the fact that Lussick played about 3.5 minutes today, I had to play Sam Hughes. So I didn't think it was worth a trade to go Sam Hughes to Mitch Barnett, but it would have got me an extra 50 points today. So.
Yeah, that's right. The next guy, Dallin Watani-Zalesniak with a 74, scored a try and had what would probably be called one of the best try assists you'll see from a winger this year, with the tap back in. Very, very impressive. And that's just pure DWZ. Now, Ian Johnson in the chat saying SJ coming back in next week to run the show. Is DWZ a buy next week? What are your thoughts on this? Because we were probably talking about him last week. If SJ was in, Dallin, we would have been more than happy to pull the trigger on it. It was just that hesitance without SJ in and having that connection with SJ to C&K and DWZ on the right edge that threw us off a little bit. You pull on the trigger?
I wish he played both the major bye rounds, but I mean, 74 when you're scoring 42. Last year, this would have been 174 when the Warriors scored 42. It's not that encouraging, but I think SJ, C&K's connection to Dallin will be enough. And I will want a piece of Dallin when SJ comes back. And next week's probably it, with a 74 in his rolling average. He's going to be about 480K. Hopefully my last trade in centre wing all year.
Yeah, we're getting to that point, aren't we? Speaking of trade-ins for centre wing, or maybe even trade-outs, Val Holmes, 52. Now, I feel like this 52 was 50 more than he deserved with how he looked. From an eye test perspective, he looked awful. Obviously he gets 8 points in goal kicks there. What are we doing with Val? Because he's just got to be a hold now, doesn't he? Like at the price, he's dropped to 684K. Obviously the big 140 odd last week has saved his price in certain terms, but are we just holding on now and just hoping that the Cowboys come good, because they look fucking bad?
I think when the Cowboys are humming, Val will be humming, and he's still got 50 in a team that got pumped by 30. Val's a hold for me. I think, what did we pay? 710 for him anyway. He's going to be 700 anyway next week. You haven't lost, you haven't gained. Val Holmes is a pick every week for me, especially he's not going to lose his goal kicking. He's still a fantastic goal kicker. I'm going to be holding on to Val, and I hate the Cowboys. I like Val, but I hate the Cowboys with a passion. If anyone wants to ask me why, just Google the 2016 grand final. But look, Val is a play for me every single week.
Me and Hamo had this chat over the weekend multiple times, and even last week he was pushing the fact that Val Holmes is a trade. Not a fan. Cowboys are shit. Their draw is shit. They've got, so in the chat he said they've got 3 more good matchups for the rest of the year. They've got a pretty tough run home. With what we're seeing from the Cowboys and how bad they've been, maybe Val is a trade out. The origin period, obviously, he's not going to play 16 or 19 either, but the Cowboys won't, so it doesn't really matter. There's a lot to I guess worry about, but I think I'm the same. James Gowing in the chat, can the Brain sell Val so we can buy him? Maybe I'll sell Ronnie Mulatalo as well, so everyone else can just jump back on Ronnie, because I think I killed him too. But yeah, I'm holding Val. Sorry guys for disappointing. Anything else for the Cowboys, mate? Ruben Cotter backing up from Origin, 51, kind of expected, really. A little bit less minutes from him, and Scotty Drinkwater, 45, probably the guys that would be talking about.
Yeah, all the forwards did some work, and that 49 to 55 is kind of more what I expect from Tommy Dearden, to be honest. But yeah, look, Nanai should drop some cash. Maybe he's a pickup after the Origin period. I'm never paying $700K for Nanai, but if the Cowboys are playing a little bit better, they go through him like they have been. If he drops to like $600K after getting limited minutes through the Origin period, he could be a target for me.
Yep, fair call. The Cowboys, their schedule just isn't really amazing through this period, so I'm not probably looking at too many of those guys. They've played their major bye now. They missed 16 and 19 now, so definitely not appealing. So we can probably move on. But the Warriors do play the next 4 games straight, 15 through to 18.
Yeah, they just missed 19.
Yeah, so they've got the next major bye, which is good. So they become a bye there, guys like DWZ, who we were talking about earlier. Mate, let's move on to the Broncos. Hey, fell a bit short in this one to the Sharks, 22-12, unfortunately. Sifa Talakai leading the scoring with 88 Supercoach points. I mean, we kind of did float the idea of buying Talakai in the Discord, but I just don't know whether I loved it enough job security-wise with Teague Wilton. Just, we don't know how long he's going to be out. Could be 1 week, could be 4.
Yeah, he's going to be good while Teague's out, and this is great if you got on. But yeah, Trindle was pretty good as well. I think the Sharks showed a bit of grit here. I think the Broncos, I suppose, let this one get away from them. I don't know if we've just got enough experience out on the park at the moment. I know the Sharks were missing Nico, but mate, I was super disappointed watching this game. That first 10 minutes after halftime, mate, like Tristan Saylor looked ordinary, looked like he just shouldn't have been back yet. I wish they just put Cobbo at fullback, really. That's 3 weeks after an ankle surgery. And I'm not one to call, when a young kid comes in, off with his head. But yeah, it just didn't look right. And that isn't what I've come to expect from Tristan Saylor.
Yeah, I mean, he's been fantastic when he has filled in for Reece Walsh in previous weeks. So I understand what you're saying. But yeah, it's very easy to blame the young guy too, isn't it? Like, I've done it a lot at the Tigers, and, like with Luke Brooks being the fall guy for the Tigers for a very long time, it's easy to blame the young guy. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to guys like Ezra Mam too. Ezra Mam, Selwyn Cobbo, like these more experienced guys, these halves, these influential players that just probably didn't step up the way they needed to for the Broncos this week.
Mm-hmm.
But you said lack of experience on the park. I mean, you've still got Carrigan, Haas, Staggs. You've also got, where is he? You've got Cobbo, you've got Mam, who's not overly experienced, but you've got Corey Boats and Hose, who unfortunately didn't turn up for this one either.
Yeah, no, he still hasn't turned up. I mean, there was a lot of, Corey Oates should have got picked over Dean Mariner and that at the start of the year. I think that this is just proving the fact that maybe Corey is that bench guy that can come in through the middle and be a stopgap. But right now, we have had so much pace on the wings. Jock Madden has been serviceable, I suppose, and we're going to have to deal with that. But, geez, the bench was ordinary. Like, Fletcher Baker, awful. And I'm not trying to call out anybody realistically, but these guys were awful. I don't own any Broncos at the moment, and I don't think I will be looking at them with Reno and Reece Walsh. Like, even through this Origin period, like Reece Walsh, best case scenario, plays round 17 and 18 and then sits out 19 again. Like, there's no appeal. Like, the Broncos might be 11th by the time the Origin period finishes.
Reece Walsh is 100% a sell this next week. If you've still got him, he was a sell this week. But if you've still held, I'd be moving him on. Purely due to the fact that I think he misses next week. He'll miss 16. and he'll miss 19. So he'll only play 2 of the next 5 games. So there's absolutely no point holding on to him with a guy at his price, and in such a decent position. I'd probably be looking at even someone like a Gutho or someone, around that is going to play around 19 for you. But yeah, we'll have a chat about fullback a little bit later because it is an interesting position this year. Britton Nickera 62, he got a nice little upgrade as well. I've been worrying a little bit about Britton lately, and I was looking at trading Fafita in for Britton Nickera, but I held off and traded Smithies instead, and I'm glad I made that move. Kale Iro with a 50, he's been fine. I think he's good enough to hold for the short term anyway, especially because the Sharks cover round 19, so I think you can hold on until then with him. But what have I done to Ronnie Mulatalo, mate? What's going on there? I've killed your favourite player. And sorry, a shout out to Simon Brown, who sent me a T-shirt that has Ronnie Mulatalo on the front of it, which is probably one of the best T-shirts I've ever owned. It was sitting at the front of my new house as I turned up. So I've walked up the driveway for the first time, haven't even turned the key in the house, and there's this Ronnie Mulatalo shirt sitting on the fucking veranda, which is the best thing ever. So I'm going to do that on Tuesday, tomorrow night for the pod.
What did it say on the packets too? Was it Braino Mattrix?
Yep. He addressed it to Braino Mattrix, which is fucking outstanding. My missus pissed herself. She thought it was very happy, very, very funny. But yes, I said I was going to kill him. Matty Sherwood said in the chat, and I did. 31. He got 70 odd last week, but I captained or vice captained him in that game. But yeah, are we worried, or he's just a hold, isn't he?
I think he's a hold. I think Trindle now will hold the spot over Atkinson. Atkinson has had some really good moments, and last week I was just saying I would pick Atkinson over Trindle, but I just think Nico and Trindle go together like Vegemite and cheese on toast. So, yeah.
Good.
I've been a bit of a Trindle hater, but Trindle does get Mulatalo the ball, and they were winning when Trindle was playing, so I think that's the way they'll go. And when Trindle's there, he will get Mulatalo the ball. So I'm going to be holding, mainly due to a lack of trades, but maybe I'm going to err with caution when it's a bad matchup and the Broncos were a bad matchup. I might just sit Mulatalo because that's what you can do with 500k guys. And Mulatalo is now a 500k guy.
And that's the beauty of it, I think, with a guy like him that has, a massive, massive ceiling in terms of scoring opportunity, but he does need to score tries to actually be kind of Supercoach relevant. So when we look at the Sharks draw at the back end here, you look at round 17. Bulldogs is a tough matchup now, so ignore the green. They've got the Gold Coast Titans, the West Tigers into the bye round 20. So that kind of 18 and 19 matchup are the games that you're going to want to play, Ronnie, I think, especially with Nico probably back with the Sharks. And I'd like to it's not that I'd like to think he's not going to be playing Origin, but I think there's a very real chance that Mitchell Moses is going to be the 7 for New South Wales for Origin 2 and 3. And then we look at the run home here, rounds 21 to 27. We look at the Sharks fixtures here, and they've got the Cowboys round 21, Souths who are playing pretty poorly at round 22. They've got Gold Coast Titans in round 23. So that run from 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23 is very nice. So Ronnie's a hold for the short term, I think, at least. And then we reassess what we're going to do in the final, maybe 4 or 5 rounds. So, hold tight on Ronnie, I think. Mate, let's move on to the next one. Hey, we've got the Storm 36 beating the Knights 28. But of course, Tyron Wishart, I mean, no one expected him to be the top scorer in this game, 122. Fucking how good was he? And a Hamo special for trading him in.
Yeah, and he does always play well when he's got 80 minutes. Of course, nobody was expecting 122. But you know what? If we were talking about a 70 or whatever, he might have flown under the radar here. But yeah, scored some tries, got some try assists. I think he had a double. The Knights started leaking some points. But the Knights, apart from, I think, letting in 2 tries in the last 4 minutes of the first half, the Knights looked really good as well. I think the Storm, if healthy, can be premiership contenders. So, I suppose we're going to see a lot of points from the Storm, and maybe we should be targeting some Storm players. Yeah,
well, I mean, they play the round 16 bye. They missed 19, but now's the time to get on them. So they do play very similar to the Warriors. They play that next kind of 4 games straight or 3 games straight now. 4 games, 15 through to 18. So definitely very relevant at this point in time. Tyron Wishart leading the scoring. Jerome Hughes, though, for anybody who went Nico Hines to Jerome Hughes, you'd be very happy with that this week, 117. I'm a Nico holder this week. And I think from memory, you're a Nico trader. Am I right?
Yeah, I had to because I have SJ.
True. You would have copped an AE this week.
Because I had Dylan Edwards, Reece Walsh, Nico, and SJ. It's not really a surprise that this week was a disaster.
Yeah, and you got a cop a week like that every now and again, I think, for the greater kind of outlook of the series, the season. So Jerome Hughes 117, Nick Meaney 108 comes back into some form of relevance, I guess, maybe.
He's averaging like 60. He's been kind of right.
What's he? His scores lately have been kind of ordinary though, haven't they? Like he's
got a 3. He's got a 3-round average of 69, a 5-round average of 67.
He scored 98, 71, and 100 in the last. I have not paid any attention to him at all. I don't know how he's flown under the radar, but that's maybe it's the round 13 buy. No one was looking at him in the lead up to that.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, if you bought him this week, let's see how many people bought.
I had somebody.
People bought him.
I had somebody in my DMs, and he goes, "Oh, what do you think of Nick Meaney?" Anyway, I was out on the Terps and didn't respond. Anyway, I messaged him the next day, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could get Nick Meaney." And he goes, "Oh, you don't sound convinced." I was like, "Actually, Nick Meaney doesn't get enough meaningful ball at center. Like, sorry." He goes, "Oh, I've already traded him in and locked him in, so now I'm nervous." And then he goes and does that.
And then I'm sure, did you cop a DM after it?
Nah, I haven't heard from him, but I will now.
yeah, absolutely. And could be a buy candidate next week. 615. He will. He's going to be 700k. I'm not quite sure whether I want to buy him at 700, but
I've got him in draft. That's great.
That'll do. Xavier Coates 64. Another couple of guys here. Harry Grant 63. I swear, man. Like, I don't know what it is with Supercoach scoring, but they just hate hookers because. I reckon he was robbed of a couple of try assists in this one, like direct passes that led to tries, and he just got a try contribution for it. I'm not sure whether it's every hooker or whether it's just Harry Grant, but maybe Sangster doesn't own Harry this year.
I've got Appy instead of Harry, and I'm not complaining, man. So I don't know.
I bet you're not. Eli Katoa 61, popular buy this week, but also popular player in general. 7,000 people traded him in this week for a 61. So you're not going to be upset with that. You're also not going to be stoked with it. I think it's fine. Suafalongo, again, another guy that's been negative 13 break even, so he'll make some decent cash. He'll be 500k next week. But his time is coming to an end with Pappenhausen due back. Was it round 16 or 17? I think so. He's got a couple of weeks left. So let's just hope that he can get owners through that major buy. But nothing really else going on. Joe Chan killing the hopes and dreams of all the VC loopers out there with a 20. For anybody who still had him, he came in off the extended bench.
Poor man's Joey Lussick.
Pretty much. Dylan Lucas 106 at center with a double. I mean, is he one of the only second row forwards that goes into center and you actually would rather buy him when he's picked at center than pick him on the edge?
Yep. Yeah, I think he is.
Good chat. I was trying to have a drinks break and you give me a one-word answer. You fucking do it to me every week. Dane Gagai with 100.
Whisper and I were talking about that with you. You'll like ask me a question and then like go away and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. And then there's just this awkward silence because I want to take a drink and I was expecting you to give me some form of fucking decent response. Dane Gagai with 100 without the goal kicking as well because Jackson Hastings has taken that back for some weird reason.
Gagai looked fantastic in this one.
He did. His base is always there as well. When you look at Gagai's stats, like, if he scores a try, he's nearly guaranteed 80 plus minimum. Only one try in this one. He had 22 points in tackle breaks. 11 tackle breaks in this game. That is massive. And then you've got a couple of line breaks in there as well. So 27 points in runs and 19 tackles is very handy for a center. But again, another guy that Ryan Hammond owns. So I guess we're just going to keep mentioning all of the Ryan Hammond players this week, considering he had a pretty good week. Kai Pearce-Paul with a 60, fantastic. I reckon he's a hold nearly all year, to be honest.
Yep.
Just with Knights draw through Origin, he can be the perfect kind of 2RF 4 or 5 that you just play on matchups, really, that are leaky to edges. That's probably the way I plan to use him at the back end.
Yeah, agree with you. Fletcher Sharp, did he do enough to hold his spot over Davey Armstrong?
Oh, depends on what the quad injury is like with Armstrong, really. Like if the quad injury is a 1 week thing, I reckon maybe. I mean, there was word, wasn't there, floating around that Fletcher Sharp was potentially going to come in for this game anyway. And there was a bit of fucking pappy about him. Like, it's not just the mullet, it's the small, skinny, little fucking wiry, fast kid that just pops up everywhere. You know, like he's that exciting kind of high energy fullback, workload fullback that you just want in your team. Like, I like him. I like him. He definitely passed the eye test and he looked a lot more threatening than David Armstrong did. But, I mean, has David Armstrong really done anything wrong aside from those 2 shitty wet games? Like, it's tough for him to lose his spot, but does he?
I don't know. Like, apparently it was Fletcher Sharp's spot. He was just injured. And Davey Armstrong was, just there. And then it was too hard to drop him because he'd played so well. But I don't know. I mean, they still lost. I think that's what you can take from Fletcher Sharp. Like, if he was devastating, and I know Supercoach points don't come into it, but yeah, maybe another try or maybe a little bit more pizzazz to get him over the storm than he could have held. But the question mark comes around for Supercoach is, do you trade David Armstrong now?
I would have traded him this week. Yeah. Everyone I spoke to said, yeah, he's a trade now. And that's probably maybe that's my opinion. I mean, and Raymond Crane in the chat said maybe Armstrong to the wing. I mean, does he really replace Marju or Nari Tuala? I don't think he does.
I think Tuala's better than Armstrong on the wing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they're not going to drop Marju. He's another talking point, but yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Honestly, I'm glad I'm not a coach in that scenario because you've got 2 really good players there, 2 young up and coming players, and Fletcher Sharp, I think, has been the kind of prodigy fullback, I guess maybe you could say, that has been coming through. And Armstrong is more a winger from a cup level that has come up and had to play fullback. So maybe it is Sharp long term.
Yep.
But obviously Ponga's not. How far away is Ponga? Month?
Yeah, still another month. So there's still 4 more games to be had.
I think there's every chance maybe Sharp gets some time in that jersey for a little bit. But again, it's just I guess a bit of guesswork there. But what's going on with Greg Marju? 25. I'm a little bit concerned, to be honest, because obviously there's just no attacking stats there. But even when there wasn't any attack last year, there was base. He had 5 tackles, 2 tackle breaks, and 21 points in runs, and that was it. Conceded a penalty and an error.
Do you know what's crazy? In 2 weeks' time, you could go Blaze Talagi, someone you hadn't heard of 10 weeks ago, to Greg Marju and make, 200K? 250K?
Insane. I know Whisperer bought him maybe 4 weeks ago and we actually had Greg Marju as one of the week. And we can say he officially broke him. So I'm not the only person that breaks people on this podcast. Josh can join me on that one, but yeah, look, there's not really much else going on here in this game. So what we'll do is we'll move on to we've got 2 more games to cover, the Panthers game and the Bulldogs game. But of course, we will give a shout out to Ryan from Astute Newstead. We've given him a mini shout out tonight, but he is a major sponsor of the show. And of course, if you are in the home loan game, I guess we could call it, if you're a homeowner or you're someone maybe that's looking to buy your dream home in the near future, then and maybe your rates are above 6.2% for your current homeowners out there. Then you can reach out to Ryan from Astute Newstead. He'll give you an obligation and a cost-free inquiry. You can basically just touch base with him and have a chat and just say, hey, here's my scenario. This is what's going on. And he'll talk you through what your options are to maybe save some money, get that rate down, or potentially even purchase your next home. So his link tree is in the description below. Hit him up. He's looked after me and got me into this place right now. He's looked after Maddie for that room that you're sitting in right now as well, right?
Yeah, we refinanced. I still haven't used the money yet, but it's still all sitting there. So,
Good.
still trying to get some builders. If there's any builders up in Toowoomba that want to help me out, get in touch.
Love it. But yeah, hit up Hamo. He's not a bad super coacher as well. I know that you're going to be having some leave and you're going to be taking some time off the pod in July. I might have to get Hamo on for an episode so that he can teach us his ways.
I mean, if you've ever talked to Hamo, I sound like a squeaky mouse. That man sounds like he smokes a 40-pack of Benson and Hedges Gold every single day. So, yeah, look, adjust your eardrums. We got the deep, sultry sounds of Ryan Hammond coming on.
He does have the deepest voice I've ever heard. So, people can look forward to that. And Hamo's now embarrassed. Poor guy. But that's okay. Let's talk Panthers, mate. 32. They beat the Sea Eagles 22. Have you ever seen? Actually, no. I won't even ask you because we've never seen this in NRL history. 2 first half hat tricks from left wingers against each other, which is just insane. Brian To'o 171, Tommy Talau 149. My father-in-law messaged me going, "Yeah, the players that I got right this week were." Blah, blah, blah. And Tommy Talau, he did okay this week. He got 140. I'm like, okay, are you joking? Got a first half hat trick. So it's funny when I have conversations like that. They were fantastic. Dane Laurie as well, 128. 400s for the Panthers. Taruva 103, Luai 102. They were awesome. So plenty of obviously tries for the wingers there on the edges for the Panthers, and kind of as expected, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like I expected the Panthers to play better. I think listening to it, the Sea Eagles sounded really good in the first half. Brooks looked like he was taking control of the team. And yeah, I suppose Daly didn't do too much. But in the end, I think, some of the experience of the Panthers took over. Dane Laurie actually sounded like he wasn't having that good of a game in defense, and then in attack, which is what's your bread and butter in Supercoach, come really good. But I suppose even when the forwards like your Liam Henrys and that go really well, it's just a night out to own some Panthers. And I don't own too many Panthers. I actually don't own too many Sea Eagles either. So this was disappointing to be listening to. But Ruben Garrick with a 93 as well.
Yeah, I mean, Ruben Garrick's 93 kind of come from nothing as well, didn't it? Like it was one of those games where you go, fuck, as a Garrick owner, you're watching the game without checking the scores and you go, shit, Garrick's going to be probably 40, 50. And then you look at the score, he's like 70. And you go, fuck, where did that come from? Like a couple of line breaks, a line break assist and stuff. Like he accumulates points really well. And obviously as the goal kicker there, they scored points as well. So that's a bonus there for Garrick owners. I am one. Luke Brooks, 68. Saab, 60. Hopewadi, 55. Not really Supercoach relevant. We mentioned Liam Henry as well. For anybody who got on, our mate Jack Cole from Penrith Panthers, he has made some good cash as well. 89. He scored this week with a minus 33 break even. So I've got 100K cash coming his way for owners as well. He'll be up near 500K next week. Never would have predicted that either. But, mate, speaking in very similar, I guess, terms as, all of these fallen guns that we've spoken about, and especially maybe Greg Marju, let's go on with Isaac Tungo, because 41 for him as well, just nothing going on.
When you drive a car, there's drivers, and you're up the top, and you're seeing your Brian To'os, your Dane Laurie's, your Taruvas, and then there's passengers. And Tungo was just a passenger now. You know what? He might even be in the backseat. You know what? After them scoring 32 points and him scoring 41, he might actually be in a booster seat.
I thought you were going to say backseat. Like, on the bus where all the cool kids sit at the back seat, they don't really do much and they got their boombox and shit. I'm a 90s kid, by the way. So maybe that's where the boombox reference came from. But I know. I agree. I don't disagree with you. I think that there's just not a lot going on with him this year. I think maybe it's just the system at the moment and the way that they're attacking, and they're getting to their wingers and they're using that kind of cutout ball from their edges a little bit more maybe than hitting their center early for early ball, because that's where Tungo gets involved. Get the man early ball and he's usually pretty solid, but he just hasn't had a ton of that this year.
And Cleary's, Ian's in the chat, but I was going to bring it up anyway, Cleary is better at getting Tungo that early ball probably than, a Jack Cole or a Luai performs on his own, I suppose. And at least in Supercoach, gets the points himself when he's out there doing it. Like, his ball skills gets it there, but Cleary's very smart, can sometimes just get Tungo the ball and just let him go. I think until Cleary's back, Tungo is going to be a nobody, and he could be 400k.
Yeah, he's a no-go. I'm not touching Isaac Tungo until Nathan Cleary's back, at least as a bare minimum, I think. If you got Tolu Kola as well, expecting him to play fullback, and you thought you'll hold on to him at centre, just don't. I'd probably move him as well. Yeah, he's definitely a trade out now, unfortunately. But Hamoli Olakawatu also went down injured in this one and didn't come back on in the second half. It looks like a calf injury. And we know that calves are niggly, but also potentially could only end up like maybe 2 weeks out. And could be right for Origin 2, hopefully, as a New South Welshman. I'd love to see him back in the blue. So let's hope that he's okay. He misses next week, I would assume, and then hopefully he's back for round 17 for Manly. They've got to buy it, so hopefully he's back around 18 for Manly, I should say.
Yeah.
Mate, last game. We've got the Bulldogs 22 beating the Eels 18. Like, when you look at the game itself, it was actually probably close to the game of the round in terms of the way that the game played out and how many blowouts we had in this week. But when you look at the Supercoach scores, you're kind of like, oh, fuck, I didn't really own any of these guys that did well.
Yeah, it was hard for me to enjoy it as an owner of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players in this game. And when, Dylan Brown, your premier 5'8", scoring 50, it was hard to get excited. But I think I said to you off air, like, I was watching the Bulldogs play today, and you want to know what happened? They've went, oh, shit, we have Stephen Crichton on our team. Did you know he plays for New South Wales? And they started getting him the ball, and they were elite. I genuinely don't think the Eels were that bad in this one. I just think the Dogs were fantastic. Connor Tracy was fantastic. Blake Wilson finished. And I know I'm looking at the top of the Supercoach scores, but it usually reflects the game. And, Crichton, Tracy, and Wilson were elite. Tracy looked great down Wilson's side.
Yeah, fuck how. You know what? As a Jacob Carraz captainer this week, and I know you're in the same boat, but I don't know. I wanted to rip my fucking hair out when I saw that Carraz was on the left wing. And initially I saw it and I'm like, fuck, this could be okay, because obviously Josh Adokar just eats fucking meat pies for breakfast on the left wing. But every single fucking try went down the right edge. Every try. Can you imagine how many points Jacob Carraz would have scored this week if he was playing on the right wing outside of Crichton? Because they just peppered that left edge defense. That right edge. Just peppered it all game.
Yeah, and it was because, who was it? The Mustard and
Dijon Arcee and fucking, what's his name?
Sean Russell. Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah, the Mustard and Russell were out there, and that's where I would have attacked too, thinking on it. But I just thought Carraz was on that side, and he was going to, I probably didn't loop David Fafita on a week when you see your Lomaxes score 170, your To'os score so well. Carraz has been that good all year too. The Eels have let in a lot of points. I thought Carraz was going to score 170.
Yeah, and especially with the amount of tries that the Eels leak to centres and wingers this year, just both sides. It doesn't even matter what side. Right centres, I think 11 or 12 tries to right centres alone. So the Eels matchup was fantastic. But Wilson got the spoils in that one, unfortunately. But Jacob Carraz still scored 64. You cannot be upset with that, because my next option would have been Scott Drinkwater. So I'll take the win there. From a Bulldogs perspective, Max King 51, Reid Marnie 48, kind of unders for him, I guess. Jacob Preston, unfortunately, looking like a broken ankle, which is brutal for the people that bought him 2 weeks ago. I mean, look, you take the points, that's fine, and you take the cash this week too, because he'll be up near 650. But just tough, isn't it? Because you don't really want to have to spend a trade on a guy that you wanted for round 16.
Yeah, and I actually thought that he could have been a season-long keeper, much in the ilk of somebody like that Kai Pearce-Paul, and that I was going a bit light on and second row forward, but I suppose I've got Fafita, I've got Eli Katoa, I've got Kai Pearce-Paul, and now I'm going to have to waste another trade to go Preston to somebody. I suppose, mid-priced as well. Like, I don't want Ola Kawatu through this period. Like, yeah, it's just going to be gross. I'm actually, like, I had a look at that filthy mullet go down, and I was so sad. I'm going to have to trade him out of fantasy and Supercoach.
I'm lucky I only have him in one. I've got him in fantasy, not Supercoach. But yeah, he was a good buy 2 weeks ago, and yeah, that sucks. That just sucks. Another guy, obviously, that went down was Josh Curran, 28. He scored in 13 minutes in this game and went down with a really bad head knock. Hopefully he's okay. But maybe the positive, I guess, we can take from this, hopefully, if everything's okay and it's just a stock standard 11-day stand down, which it looks like it is from him walking around on the sidelines, which is good to see. He will, with the Bulldogs not playing next week on the bye, he actually won't miss any football. So there's 12 days between their game today and their next game in round 16. So he will be back for the major bye, pending he goes through protocol. So that's positive for any Josh Curran owners out there. But otherwise, yeah, not much else to talk about for the Bulldogs. Let's talk about my mate, one of my best mates, Kelma Teolangi. I lie. He's not my best mate. I actually don't like him as a player that much, but I bought him. And the only reason I bought him is because I had to free up cash to get Smithies to David Fafita, and it played out okay. So I'm going to take it. That's all I'll say. I won't rub it in, but 80 is nice. He got upgraded from 60 odd, I think, to 80. So you take it.
No, rub it in your chat. When you said, "Hey guys, is Kelma Tuilagi a buy?" What did I say?
No.
Yeah,
just one word. No.
Yeah, just one word. I was just like nipping in the bud.
Sorry. It was. Am I crazy looking at Kelma Tuilagi? And you said yes. Hope this helps.
Yeah. I was just like, there's no way in the world I should get Kelma Tuilagi, and you got kissed on the absolute wee in this one. But I mean, I'm probably more salty about the fact that I traded Blaze Tulagi to David Armstrong a few weeks ago.
That hurts. He scored. He got a try. He only made one hit up for there, but he had 13 runs in this game, 17 tackles. He was good. He was solid. If he stays on the wing this year and Sivo stays in cup, I'll tell you what, he could just.
He's going back to center.
The wing six.
He's going back to center, and this is a non-owner speaking.
Tell me he's not a better fucking player than Micah Sivo. I reckon he stays there. They're also trying to re-sign him, remember?
I hope not.
I think we've made I don't think we've made a mistake, because the moves that we've made at centre wing to get him out to free up other stuff, it's kind of worked out. But I think there's every chance he might stay there, because
should have traded Mulatalo and kept Talangi.
Don't talk about Ronnie like that. That's rude. Very rude. We're keeping Ronnie. But no, Blaze Talangi 69. He was he was very good. I was trying to find the giggity soundbite, but I can't find it. Anyway, we'll play that later. Rice Cup at 62. He was good.
Yeah, I brought in David Fafita instead, so I'm glad I spent that extra $350K for those 20 points. So that's happy. The Peacock, I tell you what, could be the greatest draft player every year. I love the Peacock there with 64. Sean Lane back into relevance with 62. I should have been holding on to him. But yeah, Dillbags and Moses there. I know some people jumped on Moses in the last week or so. I don't know if he does get selected for Origin. He just lost to the Bulldogs.
No, I don't think that matters, man. Like, to be fair, Mitchell Moses didn't look bad. Like, I don't think this was his fault, this loss. No. But it's, I mean, just remember also, Mitchell Moses needs to do so much to score. He's a very, very similar player to a Sam Walker and those kind of guys that just have real low base, but everything is attack. So when you're in a losing side, I think Moses is always going to kind of score less than what you would like. But yeah, still a good option. But yeah, just not Supercoach relevant now, because I think there is a 90% chance he does play halfback for New South Wales in game 2. Dylan Brown 50, kind of okay, not really. I mean,
it's all right.
Not upset, not happy is probably the best way to describe it.
I would have considered the Bulldogs a good matchup for the Eels when I was looking at the bye schedule and everything like that. That's probably why I'm disappointed in Dylan Brown's 50. But this was a bit of a slog, I suppose. There was 2 quick tries by the Bulldogs right at the end in the last, 10 minutes, I suppose. It might have been 12 minutes. But it was a slog. All the scores were low. There was a real arm wrestle all game. So, yeah, you can expect these lower scores. And the Eels can score points in other games. Don't overreact to any of these. Even Gutho at 59. Like, Gutho could be the best fullback through this bye period, to be honest.
If the Eels played 16 and 19, I tell you what, he would probably be one of the most purchased players next week, I reckon.
I would have already owned him this week if he was playing 16.
Yeah. In saying that, a lot of us bought Brendan Hands. Some people bought Cardi this week. I mean, maybe I'm the only one that bought Kelma Tuolangi, but Eels are still a good team to own. Good players to own, I think, through this little 6-week period. So,
shout out. I've scored 986 points this week. I would have scored 979 if Joey Lussick didn't play today. So, yeah.
Shout out to Joey.
You're my boy, Blue.
What about the for people that VC looped, they would be a little bit upset if you held Lussick this week. I did Lussick to Hands, and it'll make me cash and points this week. But does the now Lussick back on the bench fucking bullshit that people thought they were avoiding by getting on Brendan Hands create any sort of concern just about what's going on at the Eels with this hooker rotation? Because I'm worried. I've already spent a trade to get Lussick, and now I've spent another trade to get Hands. And I'm not going to do anything else regardless. There's no point playing fucking hooker roulette. But is there any chance maybe that Lussick comes back into this team?
Yeah, there's a chance that he plays. I mean, him being on the bench, like, he's not an impact player. Like, if they were doing this whole Billy Smoothie thing that the Broncos do or something along those lines, I would kind of get it because I think Hands offers more in attack. I think Lussick is really good defensively. But, like, Lussick isn't your answer to bring in for the last 15 minutes of the game. I have no idea what happened.
Lussick is also just shit. I don't rate him as a footballer. I don't think he's the answer. I don't think he's a good option. I don't think he's a better option than Brendan Hands. I think Brendan Hands offers more in attack and in defense. So I think, and I think Ian Johnson hit the nail on the head by saying when Matto comes in, Lussick will drop out. And I think that's probably a fair assumption considering that Brendan Hands can play 80 minutes at hooker. I was assuming that maybe they were just looking to play around with a bit of rotation here for the Eels. And with Sean Lane playing in the middle of the field now, it kind of maybe Matto out has needed Sean Lane to play through the middle. And maybe we see Sean Lane go back through an edge, which worries me about Tuolangi. But maybe when Matto's back, things kind of go back to normal. And
probably worries me with Cardi too. I don't know. Like, I'm just staying away from Eels players at this point. I've got Dylan Brown. I want to get rid of Lussick. I think if you didn't get Cartwright this week, you've missed the boat on that. I'm just staying away from Eels players. I think Moses should probably get picked in Origin too. Nico didn't impress me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to burn a trade on Lussick next week. That's the worst thing.
Yeah, it's tough. If he wasn't getting picked, maybe you could just leave him there at hooker too. And just
that was my plan.
Yeah, because you've got
now he's leaking cash.
And
I've got Appy and Lussick. Yeah.
That's probably the only time that I would not bother doing anything with Lussick is if you're an Appy owner. Because Appy will play every game now until round 26. So like that's probably the way that you can play that. But if you're stuck with Lussick and any other hooker combo, I think it could be a problem moving forward. Yep. But mate, that does us for games. Let's quickly answer some questions before we wrap this one up because we are back tomorrow to do it all again. We're on the double header back to back. So we'll answer Jamie Camilleri's one first. Lockie Galvin 28, Dylan Brown 44. Who do you sell first? For me, it's Lockie Galvin every day of the week. Dylan Brown's a season hold. Do you agree?
Yeah, this was an arm wrestle that I spoke about. Like Lachlan Galvin plays for the Tigers. If that wants to answer your question.
Not a very much an arm wrestle then. Pretty much just the Stephen Bradbury maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like Lachlan Galvin requested a trade. Dylan Edwards plays for a team that might have premiership aspirations in the next 5 years.
Yeah, fair. All right. Let's Adam88's asking the next one. Early trade thoughts next week. Drinky to Teddy. I like it, considering I think that now Dylan Edwards will probably take that spot back in Origin for Origin 2, considering New South Wales lost. Drinkwater now obviously misses the next two major buys as well. I don't think you have to make that decision this week unless you are getting someone like a Teddy or a Manu Viduals or whoever that be.
I got so much hate for saying that I think Teddy was one of the best players on the park for New South Wales. And I wasn't saying it as a Queenslander and tongue-in-cheek like I say so many things. I just think there was so much effort from Teddy.
There's always effort, though.
I still think Dylan Edwards gets his spot back. So, yeah, Drinky to Teddy, I don't mind it. Like, the Cowboys have been awful. I'll probably be looking at Teddy regardless this week. I don't have Drinkwater, but yeah, Teddy was a guy that I wanted. I reversed the trade to save the trade, but are they going St. George into... It's like a great... Like, they're going St. George into the Tigers, into the Titans or something?
So let's look... sorry, I've got the comment covering them. Yeah, Roosters. So they've got the bye, obviously, this week. They've got Para, Bulldogs, Tigers, St. George into the bye. So that next 3 weeks, they got Bulldogs, Tigers, Dragons. Oh no, Para, Bulldogs, Tigers, Dragons. That's real nice. I think those Roosters players and Teddy especially could be very, very relevant through that period. So I'm all aboard. I like it. Rowan Tipsy Trade scored a 1,300. Trust the Beersies. And if anybody knows Rowan well on X, he commissioner of the Tipsy Trades League and loves a beer and also loves to do a trade during a beer or a beer doing a trade. I don't know. I mixed that up.
He's my kind of guy.
Yeah, I know you'd like that. Matty Sherwood from the Discord. Boys, do we think Sullivan keeps his spot? Was looking great at halftime. Sullivan's got a broken finger now, so he'll be out for at least 2 to 4 weeks, unfortunately. So
that's my strong hand. Yeah, no, he's out.
Aiden Caesar's back from suspension next week, so he'll just come in.
What do we got? Caesar Finu?
Let's hope that Finu's fit because I don't know who else we have. No Galvin, no Sullivan, both injured. Caesar comes back, but who else? There's one position you've got to fill there. Hopefully it's Latu Finu and hopefully he's fit. Ian Johnson, SJ comes back. We spoke about DWZ being a buy. I like it. I think that's a good play. And another question from Ian, Barnett or Tarpany? Do we get him in for Sam Hughes? Who's your pick?
Like the little kid on the taco ad, why can't you have both? These are the two guys that I think Tarpany's a better buy now than Barnett because Barnett's going to have made his cash this week.
Barnett's cheaper. Or actually around the same price, within probably 30, 40K of each other. Tarpany will make
I think Joey Taps in the last 3 weeks, his minutes have ramped up through this period as well.
Ricky Stewart does it every year, right? Just always kind of goes, all right, Joey, let's carry the Raiders through this Origin period for me.
Hey, guys, we're borderlining making the 8 again. You know what I should have done at the start of the year? Said, Joey Taps, play your minutes. You're like our best player.
But he doesn't, yes. Yeah. I think Joey Taps maybe is the pick, purely just due to the fact that we know he gets better through this period every year. And nearly every year we're looking at him going, yep, Kiwi, won't play Origin, one of the better props in the comp. And Ricky seems to lean on him for bigger minutes during the Origin period. Maybe that's because in the past Josh Papali'i has been playing for Queensland and he's not now. But that's not deterring me. I think Joey Taps is still going to be a good option next week, I think, now that the bye's out of the way for Canberra.
Yep. Agree.
Nathan Spencer, would you go Sam Hughes to Tavita Pangai Jr.? Tell us about your thoughts on TPJ because, you put something on X the other day that I'm not sure people agreed with.
I was toying with it. I mean, I think I will look at TPJ for a week before, but 350 is about the price that I'd like to take a punt on somebody like TPJ. I know some Dolphins fans that I've been talking to have been relatively unhappy with the trade, but if TPJ got signed to the Broncos, I would have been super happy this week. So, you know what? It is a trade that I can find myself doing in the next couple of weeks. I think I will just look for 1 week. just to see how his fitness is because he's been out of the game, and I just don't want him for the first week that he plays NRL. Let's just see if if he plays 25 minutes the first game and then 40 minutes the second game, then it starts to look like he's a buy. But yes, Sam Hughes is a guy I want out. TPJ is probably a guy I can afford.
I think that's gross. I'm not touching Tavita Pangai Jr. with a 10-foot pole. His conditioning would be fucking putrid after boxing and doing everything that he's been doing. It's a completely different sport that he's been playing for fucking 6 months.
They're going to bounce off him. Like, he's going to be built through here. Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
Not a fan.
And he's going to want to prove himself. He's going to be playing for a contract. This is like an end of the year thing. This is like a 13-week contract. Nah, Tavita Pangai Jr., just like when he went through the Panthers, I tell you what, he's going to average more than 35 for the rest of the year, which is more than what I can say for Samuel Hughes.
So, okay, good. You feel free to waste a trade on Tavita Pangai Jr. if you want, but I'm not going there.
I will.
Okay. Nathan Spencer, have Spencer Lenu, would you sell him to Tarpany or hold post-Origin and play Finau there with AFB? Now, look, if you haven't got rid of Spencer Lenu now, I mean, if you had the cash, I'd get Tarpany. Yeah, Spencer Lenu playing Origin, so he's going to miss the major buys anyway for the Roosters. Props don't necessarily take advantage of great draws like outside backs do. So, like, for me, maybe even they take a backward step because they just don't get as much work rate if the Roosters are scoring a lot of points. So,
I mean, Lenu plays like 25 minutes a game anyway, so
I think he's a sell.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wanted to work in like Spencer Lenu's okay for now, but I think I would trade in Joey Taps regardless. So.
Tyler Sutherland is Drinkwater a sell? There's an argument that it could be. Yeah, there's an argument that Drinkwater could be when we look at. Sorry, I'll get rid of the comment on the screen. Cowboys, they've just got through those tough games. They've got the Raiders in round 15 into the bye. Then they've got the Panthers round 17, and then Manly round 18. Would like to think a full strength squad. Turbo could be due back maybe around that period of time as well. So for me, I think, definitely Drinky could be a sell with that run of games coming up. But I think it's also a next week problem or the week after, I guess. We're talking Sunday wrap up now or Monday. Maybe wait until the Cowboys are on the bye in round 16 to flick Drinky. That's probably the way I'd approach it. And it also seems like a bit of a luxury trade with everything else going on with all these injuries and players going down in Origin, fucking random picks and stuff. So that's my opinion. What do you think?
Unless you're going to Teddy, he's a hold through round 15.
Yeah, fair. Jamie Camilleri also asking best buys for next major buy round 16. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Impossible for us to really talk about too much now, but once we see teams next week, that we'll give you our best buy, hold, and sell as we do every week. Hamo wants to know, does Schneider take his spot back over Jack Cole this week? Interesting one, because I don't think he does.
No, I think Jack Cole's been better through this period than Schneider has been. I know Schneider's been a bit banged up as well. Why change what works? Jack Cole's been really good. I think Jack Cole holds it. And they bought in Jack Cole and Schneider probably with no real preference. It's just whoever was the best through this Origin period would play. But I think Schneider will get another game because we expect Luai to get another game, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he did enough to get dropped. I agree. But also, we're looking at this round like Schneider is a genuine 7, I think, which means that if they're playing Luai at 7, then Jack Cole is the guy that plays for 6. He'll stay there in that 5'8" role, and Luai will take the reins at 7. So I think unless Luai's not playing, I think Schneider probably drops out. So I think Jack Cole's safe, to be fair, and probably will make a little bit more cash, I think, until Nathan Cleary comes back, which is great. Steezer, Mattrix, as a fellow Broncos fan, are we now sweating on the top 8?
Yes.
Where are you guys at the moment? What are you coming?
Oh, I mean, we're in that mix. We're in like those 16 points with
8th at the moment.
Yeah, there you go. We're 8th. But we haven't had all our buys. We're sort of sitting there in that 4th to 8th region. I just think there's some teams out there in that 9th to probably 12th with even your Warriors and some blokes like that are just playing better footy at the moment. Look, we really needed Reece Walsh through this period. I think that's really a kick in the dick for us. But I don't know, like Reno being out, Jock Madden looks good, but Ezra not being able to grab the game by the balls. I'm really worried that the Broncos might not even be playing top 8 footy by the time Reno comes back. And like we're still that popular with State of Origin picks that we get decimated through this period. So we needed to be a bit better before this to make it through this period. Yeah.
Yeah, fair. I wish I knew what it was like to be sweating on the top 8. That'd be nice. Stefanos, have Marju and Isaac Tungor to deal with. Also thinking trading Burton and Drinkwater. Who's more of a priority out of those 4, I guess? I'd be definitely moving on guys like Marju and Tungor over Burton and Drinkwater. Only because I think we've looked at... hear me out here. Every single year we look at who's playing 13, 16, 19, who's playing the major buys and all that kind of stuff, and we steer clear of these genuine guns that are playing Origin, right? And Burton, sure, underperformed this week, but has been fantastic in the 5-8-1 leading up to this point. So he's not, I don't think he's a trade out. He's a guy you want to have all year. Drinkwater, questionable, but probably not a trade out this week. Marju, been poor. Tungor, been poor. Now, if we went and ignored Origin completely, we would have bought Latrell Mitchell this week and had 100 points, 150 points, and probably captained him and had 300 points more this week than what we did. And there's a lot of other players that are performing that are also playing Origin at the same time. So, like, how do you juggle who to trade out here in this scenario?
I don't think any of them is a trade out this week. I think if you've got Marju and Tungo, like, what are you getting? Like, you're going Tungo to Dallin or somebody like that, and it's costing you 80K. I think with these 400, 500K guys, they're guys that you can sit and start on matchup. You're okay to play them through this bye period if they're playing, because these guys can jag 120. I know it's been disappointing, and you could think of it as a rage trade, but think of all those people that traded out Lomax when he got picked for Origin, having a look that it's 2 days away from, I suppose, Origin 1 is their first game. I think I'd hold Marju and Tungo. I would hold Drinkwater for another week, and Burton is 100% a hold because I'm not even sure he might even play round 16, to be honest.
Maybe. I mean, unless they pick him at center and Latrell ends up not being picked, it's just, I don't. I think Latrell gets picked at center, and I think we see Burton probably not play for New South Wales unless they use him as a 14 bench utility, which I think there is every chance that they do after what we saw from game 1. That's how I'd play him anyway, because we know that Origin it's just a different game. You do need an outside back or a utility on the bench, and I think Burton is the best of them. But yeah, who knows? Could be very interesting. But yeah, I'd be holding Burton regardless. Couple of questions left. Very quick one. Early or late basketball tomorrow, Matty? When are we recording tomorrow?
It's an 8:00 game. I think you were thinking maybe kick off at 9, and maybe I missed the first 10 minutes driving and rushing in. Yeah,
it could be the late show. And we have had some whispers, I think, of late, per sources, of course, that the Supercoach whisperer could be a late inclusion at the 24-hour cut. He's made it past the 24-hour cut, so we'll see what we're looking at 1 hour before.
He's got to pass his fitness tests. So.
He does. We haven't had the captain's run yet. That'll happen tomorrow afternoon. So if he gets through that, okay, we might see him at the 1 hour cut and in final teams. So yeah, stay tuned. But yeah, it'll be a later one tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that. And the last one to wrap up the show, Chase Mason asking, if you don't have Teddy or Latrell and you've got Edwards, who do you target at fullback? Do you look at Chance, Nickel-Klukstad, or do you pay up for Trell, Pappenhausen when he comes back, or Teddy? How are you playing fullback? Teddy?
Yep. 100%. Okay. I don't think Teddy plays Origin 2 and 3. I think Edwards still plays Origin, so yeah, you're going to have to deal with that. But C&K misses one of the next bye rounds. I know Teddy does too, but those matchups that Teddy has in the next, he could be captainable the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. He's even though someone I had to reverse and get Manu in that week when everyone bought Teddy, I'm still looking at him next week. If I can find a way to do like Drinky to Teddy or something next week, that could be the go. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of interest around those Roosters guys in the run home for sure. Mate, that'll do. I mean, before we wrap up, any early trade thoughts for next week? What are you thinking with moves? You're not a guy that likes to look too far ahead.
Yeah, I do like Teddy. I do like Dallin. I don't like to bank trades, but I would have got Dallin in this week had it not meaning trading out some people that were already playing. Probably would have had a Mitchie Barnett or somebody like that too. I don't have the boosts anymore, so I can't see myself trading at front row forward. So maybe a Dallin and a Teddy.
I like that. I might not trade next week. I mean, the only trade that I can see myself doing is potentially a Drinky to Teddy. I don't know whether I'll be doing anything else. My team seems relatively set
next
up.
week, though, right? That is.
I think it is. I've got 13 already available for round 16, pending any random picks for Origin. So I'm thinking I might just hold tight and maybe just make one trade max next week and just hold some trades because I do definitely need to. I've only got 17 left for the year. So that's probably my early thoughts. But I know that as long as the week goes on and then teams come out and then random shit happens, I know I'm going to want to make a few trades. So I'm glad I got rid of all my boosts now because I won't have the temptation to go and do dumb trades with the extra trade. So
makes you feel so free.
It does. Guys, that'll do us. We've made it to the end. The Sunday wrap-up's all done and dusted. We'll be back tomorrow, a bit later, around that 9 p.m. mark. So stay tuned for that. We'll talk through team lists and everything as we always do. And of course, if you haven't done yet, please hit subscribe. Please hit like on YouTube if you're watching us there. And obviously like and review us on Spotify, Apple, wherever it is, Google Podcasts, wherever it is you listen to us. And jump in the Discord. The link is in the description below. And if you want to buy some Insight merch, you can also do that at the web store in the link below as well. Guys, we will see you tomorrow later around the 9 p.m. mark. We will catch you then. Have a good one.
Cheerio.